Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for Live from the Knitting Wars. I'm Deplorable Knitter. We have the fabulous and wonderful Ann Pinkova as always, uh, our almost biannual co-guest Neil, and we've got Liz today from Ewe and Dye, or formerly of Ewe and Dye. I'm not entirely sure what the status is, so she's going to let us know. But
she's hilarious, and we love her anyways. Dying, not dying. No,
right.
Before we started, it's like, Liz, are you even dying right now? And she's like, what? Am I ill? Oh.
Yeah. So that goes to show you we're a little bit. Sorry, we're a little bit late, everybody. It's just been a day, but we're here, and we are excited to see all you guys waiting for us and chilling in the chat. So thanks for joining us.
Good to see you all.
I guess before we get into stuff, is anybody working on any projects?
Yes.
Anybody think anybody wants to show?
Who wants to go first?
I can show mine.
Yeah, go for it.
I just finished like a Sunday cardigan. I forget who the pattern's by, but so as a palette cleanser, I do these really simple shawls. They're garter, and I do them fingering weight on like a size 5 needle, and it just makes a really drapey fabric. So that's what I'm doing right now. And this is in a Cloudborn Pima cotton, and it's just so potato chippy and so mindless. I just love them as a palette cleanser. So that's what I'm working on.
Nice.
Cool. What about you, Neil?
I don't know what this is going to be. It's going to be some kind of a sweater eventually. So this is sideways, just so I can fit it on. But it's in Tuscan knits and Euphoria knits.
Ooh.
And what it is, it's hard to see, but this is going to be the start of a V-neck. But I'm doing it with the double decreases so that there's no shaping. Like when you have to put it on hold and do half of your V-neck. And so if you look, the sort of chevron pattern gets less and less of a... until it's straight. I can't think of the words, you know what I mean? So it starts off straight and then gets more and more angled. Is that the right word? Right. Until we're at the top there. So it's going to be in panels, and this is the back panel, which is just standard. There's no shaping in that. So it looks nothing like a sweater yet, but hopefully, if everything goes to plan, it will. And I've done all the math, or maths, as we say in the UK, and I think it's going to work.
Okay. I'm fascinated by that. That's a lot of pieces and bits and modular.
Well, what I've had this thing in my head, because I put weight on, lose weight, put weight on, lose weight, and I've been like that for years and years. And I've always had a bit of a block when it comes to knitting sweaters, because I think, well, is there any point? Because in a year, it's not going to fit me one way or another. It won't fit me. And I've had this idea in my head that as long as there aren't sleeves on it, the side panels could be what make the same design narrower or wider. So what I'm doing, this is an experiment to see whether the front and the back could be worn by anybody, but just with wider or shorter panels at the side. Whether it'll work, I don't know until I've done it. So if you never ever see it again, you know that it didn't work.
Well, it's a fascinating concept. Colors are awesome. So
yeah, well, they're not really my colors, so I don't even know whether they'll suit me, because I'm more of I think I'm a summer. Is that what they call it? The winter. I know that's what they call it. The winter and the autumn people and whatever. And this is an autumn thing, whereas it's probably something that Anne would probably look good in. And you actually, DK, I think you're an autumn, aren't you?
I'm not sure. I've never figured that out.
Yeah. And Liz, I think you might be more of a summer, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Cool. Does anybody know? Anybody in the comments know?
I don't know if I'm technically in autumn or anything. I just know that when fall comes around again and all of the stores, it's nothing but burnt orange and deep purple, and dark reddish brown. I'm like, finally, I don't have to lie to the world and say I want to wear literally anything else. Give me that dark teal, and I'm burgundy, and I'm a happy gal.
Oh, I've been doing a bit of dyeing as well. I don't know whether you want to see that.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know that Adam wants you to make sure that it can accommodate pregnant moms. So while you're working on this design, just make sure you keep that in mind, okay?
Well, this is it. I'm, obviously woke. Oh no, I've got some yarn stuck in the zip. Oh no, disaster. Oh, I might have to. I'll just show you one for now because they're both the same. Well, this was some yarn that I was given by somebody that didn't want to look at it anymore because it was in GG orange. So I decided to dye it, and this is it's not showing as red as it is. Very, very bright red, but on the screen it's looking a bit more burgundy.
It looks orange almost, but yeah.
No, it's not showing up. It is actually red, like proper post box red, as we would say.
I saw it in your pictures on Instagram, I think, and it was very pretty.
Yeah, because this is looking a bit. It's not the right color there at all. But I was quite pleased, and I've called it Deadpool because it's like the Deadpool colors of his costume.
Yeah. No, it is so funny because people are like, "Oh, he's over dyeing yarn because he doesn't like the person," and blah blah. Do you guys remember a couple of years ago when the left went and over dyed all the yarn from conservative people?
Oh yeah.
So what is this that we can't do it?
Stunning Tuscan knits, color work sweater, and they dyed the whole thing black.
I remember that.
Wow.
I couldn't have dyed it black just for the fact that, all the time of that color work, I would have just, well, if you're going to over dye it, like pick a color that'll still give you tones or something like.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about this particular colorway is the orange. I don't particularly like orange. I don't like it. If it was a nice, I've seen some of Lola Bean's yarns. They're actually all right. There's nothing wrong with those colors. So I wouldn't necessarily over dye any of hers because I do have some that I've been given as well. Somebody gave me some.
So do I.
And I saw your post and I was going to reply with mine. So have you decided what you're going to make with it?
Oh, I absolutely know what I'm going to make with that. I still have to design it though, which is
well, I've got a set of minis, the Wakanda minis that she did. So if the pattern can, I've freed the yarn. Oh, this is Euphoria knits, by the way. It got caught in the zip.
That's pretty.
So
it
obviously wanted its moment in the fame.
Is she the guy who did I've recently seen some stuff from her that she did the London fog that was all purples and speckles. Oh,
yeah, it's nice, isn't it, that one? Yeah. Yeah, I had to ask her what that was. I should know, really, being, English, shouldn't
I? I didn't realize this, but Emily's saying that they also threw out yarn from designers they didn't like. I wish I had that kind of money to just throw out yarn.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I would never throw out yarn, even if I hate it. Like you're saying you don't like orange. I am not like an orange or yellow person, but if somebody gave it to me, I would still be like, all right, I can work with this. I can do something.
Yeah.
I'll have all your yellow. I like yellow. Who wants all the orange?
Nope. Our house used to be yellow, and when we rebuilt, my husband said, well, we're going to side it in yellow again. And I said, no, we're not. He's like, but it was yellow. And I'm like, but I had no choice. Like, it's what it was. Now I have a say. It's not going to be yellow. But that's cool. So, Anne, what you got working on?
I just pulled out my blanket again, and I'm almost done with this quarter, which is exciting. I also have another yarn on my Lent knit along with Knitty McPurley, so that's exciting.
Oh, are you allowed to show us, or is it top secret?
Well, I can show you.
But guys, if you
don't want
to see,
look away now.
Look away. Okay, fine. Okay, so today's color, which I haven't knit, and I won't knit because the pattern is on my phone. So, that makes it a little difficult right now. But today's color is, oopsies, let's see. Yeah, is this kind of mauvey, variegated something.
Pretty.
And yeah, it's up to this point.
That's nice.
So brown.
Oh, it's quite subtle, isn't it? The colors are subtle. It's nice.
And it has to be because it's a new mini every day. So how many colors can you shove into this thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, the last one was kind of the same tone of mauve, but
So,
solid. And this is
has she designed it so that you use the specific color at that specific point?
Yep.
So they're all going to probably blend in really well then, aren't they? Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Right.
Nice.
They're all put in these little individual things. And it's 36 of them. I think
Wow.
there's 40 days in Lent, but she doesn't do Sundays, so you have a day to catch up. So, and I'm a little obsessive. So I originally was sticking all of my extras back into each little envelope. I'm like, Anne, you're not keeping these stupid envelopes. They're really cool. You don't need them. Fold them up, throw them away. And then I've been sticking the little remnant bits of the balls in a jar. So
Yeah.
like I won't forget which order they go in. I can always look at the shawl. Really? Okay.
I saved all the boxes from Lynn's Advent because they were
No.
but they were a little bit bigger. They were like this big, so I was like, I could see me using those for like little things for my kids or something. So I kept those. But
Nice packaging. But
I still have Devin's last Advent in the boxes packed away. I haven't made it.
oh no.
It's on the to-do list.
yeah,
I might do one eventually, but the thing is, I don't know whether I could cope with all the religious things, the daily prayer things or whatever it is. The heathen in me couldn't cope with it.
So I mean, obviously it's part of that being Lent, but every once in a while she has like a little sticker on the back, but really like it's not like a part of the pattern or anything like that. So
it's not in the instructions then that you have to say a prayer at a certain point.
Not like Father, Son,
I mean,
Holy Spirit, Father,
would
Son.
be encouraged, but not instructed. Like the code that she put the code for the pattern into the box so then you could redeem it on the online version. The code was religious, but I think you could have borne it.
Oh, you can't say the code, can you? I was going to say, what was the code? No, you can't.
well, yeah, no, I don't think she'd be pleased with that. No.
I wasn't thinking straight then. Yeah, tell me your passwords, everybody. Come on.
Don't you think it's really weird that all your passwords start with a... Let me tell you a funny thing about my social security number.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Adam, Adam, our friend Adam in the comments, he's just found out what a whip is. It's quite cute.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Adam has been watching pretty religiously, and I predict that at some point in the future, he will start crafting something. He says you're not a Nigerian prince. That's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying that.
Yes, I will give you 7 million if you give me 2,000. Honest.
What a bargain. Well, that's a thing. I mean, that I'll watch some nerdy channels, but there are some YouTube channels I watch that at first I'd only watch with my brother, and every once in a while I'll check in with them too. It's like, yes, I know the lingo. I've seen the people. Gotta get out there. Anyways.
Well, if you ever come back to Manchester, Adam, I shall teach you. Although I've still not taught Birdie Rose yet, so yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Hey, does anybody have, speaking of whips, does anybody have like a channel out there called Whips and Chains?
Do it. You need to do it.
No, because then I offend somebody in the bondage community or something. Like you're appropriating.
With a pair of crocheted handcuffs, like, okay.
Oh, that's a great name for a channel. Somebody should do that. Copyright it quickly.
No,
That's
creepy.
taken.
You'll get too many creeps on that. I'm sorry, but it's
exactly.
not worth it. It's not gonna be anything good.
Oh, I'm just thinking. I bet there's so many others if we think about it. So many other bondage themes in knitting and crochet.
So
But then
all the
one
crocheters like to be hookers.
Hooking, hookers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm
one
thinking
day you'll be at an event though and have to introduce yourself as, "Hi, I'm Liz from Whips and Chains." People taking your picture.
I can't wait to read what they're going to say about this when our friends, our friends.
Oh, the hall monitors.
Oh, whatever. Who gives a crap?
In the end, they are just internet people.
They are. So I don't have anything to show for knitting because I designed a new hat. It was super awesome. I took 7,000 pictures, which are on my phone, which is right here. So you guys can't see them right now. But I went to the zoo today with my kids and the hat was for the birthday girl. And so therefore I have nothing to show.
Aww.
And I'm still freezing. I'm here under a pile of blankets, like trying to warm up. I didn't realize how cold it was out.
Well, I watched your show last night, and I love the idea of that hat that you mentioned.
The tinfoil hat?
Oh, yeah.
Tinfoil. Yeah, I didn't want to say it. As I was saying that, I was thinking, oh, was it a secret? Then I thought, no, it was actually on the channel.
It was on TV.
I was forgetting whether I was part of it. I start to think I'm part of that now when I see you chatting.
Well, because you are often with us. Yeah, I think that is gonna have to be a design at some point. I haven't. Now that I've said it for years, but now that I've really said it, and Anne's got me like a colorway and stuff, I've
got a drawing that I did of someone wearing a tinfoil hat a few years ago. I'll send it to you because it's kind of not. It's not exactly like you'd imagine a tinfoil hat would be, so it might be something that gives you a bit of inspiration, maybe not.
Yeah, I kind of have an idea of how to do it. I think
are you going to have one of those with a tail type thing on the top, or is it going to be?
Well, I mean, obviously I haven't designed it yet, so I don't know, but I'm thinking some sort of highly textured pattern, like knits and pearls or cables or something to give it a lot of movement, and then maybe an I-cord on the top. But I don't know how literal we want to go with the whole tinfoil hat thing. Who's really going to wear them? So I don't know.
Well, it's more of a fun piece, isn't it? But one thing that might work if people, you could do it like an entrelac type thing, because that would give that kind of.
Yeah.
That is a skill I have never tried. That's something I've never done.
I've never done it. I've done it with Tunisian crochet, but I've never done it knitting. It's never appealed to me with knitting because I don't like the way it looks generally.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had a book from the library before and looked at it. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how it worked. But I never saw a pattern that was like, yeah, I need to make that.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen that I thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind making that is a cushion. You know what I mean? It's like it seems to be something for the house rather than to wear to me.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
It's very, what's the word? Lumpy.
Well, yeah, it kind of has that like upholstery look. And generally that's not something I want to wear. Word. So yeah. But hey, so speaking of designs, the only thing I wanted to talk about, because since I heard this on Tabitha's show, I'm terrible at watching other people's podcasts, but I was unpacking yesterday after Anna and I did our live. And so I listened to Two Sisters and Some Yarn, and then I listened to both of Tabitha's episodes. And Tabitha mentioned that there is a knitting designer that is charging $25 for a sweater pattern. And like, as a designer, I'm kind of like, I mean, I get wanting to make money. Like, that's kind of the goal of any job that you're going to do, right? Like, you would like to bring in some money. But what do we think? Is $25 just out of the question? It's a sweater. People were saying it has maybe like 3 different options. So it's kind of like buying 3 sweater patterns. I think it's too expensive. I don't know.
I think it's a little steep, especially with not a long track record of design from this gal. I understand what she's trying to do, but that kind of just, I don't know. God bless her.
God loves a trier, as you would say.
I wish I had the cojones that she's got to just be like, hey.
I think one of the issues isn't so much that is too expensive I think that the issue is that people lump all patterns together, and there's very little differentiation between, say, a simple hat priced pattern and a sweater pattern, maybe a couple of dollars. Whereas really, for the amount of time designing and the amount of effort that's gone into it, maybe sweater patterns should be more expensive, you know, and maybe that's where our issue is we're still thinking that they should only be $4, $5, $6, $7, when really that might be what a sock should be or a hat pattern should be. Not that I'm saying to everyone who designs suddenly put your patterns up, because I'd be pissed off if that happened. But
I mean, okay, if I wouldn't pay 26. I mean, it might get close to that if like it was like a booklet, like a proper booklet, and someone was sending it to me in the mail, $26 for this, and there was all sorts of, options and things, and maybe. But yeah, I'm with you, Neil. It's like, okay, maybe if it was a really awesome sweater pattern and it was just, maybe I would go as far as $12. That would be expensive.
But if you think you can buy a book of patterns for probably the same price, maybe even cheaper.
Yeah.
I was looking, I mean,
hardback book.
Hardback for what, commonly $30 new, thereabouts. So, I mean, I was going to show this off again. So my little shawl that I did, that I love oh so very much, with the snowdrop on. Yeah. Okay, so when I was doing this one, I had all sorts of ideas for other versions of this pattern, which I never ended up doing. But that, I have little stars. Sorry, I love this shawl. Like, and this basket is one of my favorite things to do, and I'm thinking of ways to use it again. But I was and only $6, people. Woohoo. It can be as big or small as you like. No, but when I was making it, I'm like, okay, what if I do a cowl version? My original idea was socks. So I'm like, okay, do I still want to knit socks? Do I not want to do socks? I only have so much of this yarn. What do I want to do? And it was thinking of that thing of, okay, but if I do a cowl version, will I include it in my pattern with the shawl? Will I... You can't really do it on Lovecrafts, but offer some sort of a discount because it will have a lot of the same elements. If I have a shawl and a cowl, release that as a separate pattern where they're both together. But if the person already has the shawl, you don't want to. It's kind of an awkward,
tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like, I looked into doing a book. I was thinking, instead of releasing patterns monthly or whatever, doing a book, and then I realized that for the time and effort I would have to put into making all the patterns, testing them, having them edited, I will get better returns on my time by releasing single patterns than by releasing a book. And somebody in the comments said, break it down into hourly rates for how long it takes to design. Does that make it more reasonable? Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Depends, doesn't it? Some people are prolific and do it in the sleep, don't they?
Some people do, but also I think as crafters, we have to be somewhat realistic. The hat that I just gave to the little girl that I made, I use Chicken Lady yarn. Her mother would never have bought her a $50 hat or a $60 hat, because by the time I paid for yarn and my time, it probably would have had to be more than that. Like, realistically, as crafters, you have to kind of get to the... I'm not saying we're not worth making money and that we shouldn't make good money, but
okay, so
you have to know the market, right?
My stupid throwaway line, be the slave labor you need in the world. There's no way that you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy a hat for exorbitant amount of money, even though that was crocheted by a little slave kid who's not going to see almost any return on that, or for ultra cheap labor. It's like, well, what is it actually worth in the market? Sorry. And, things made by machines can obviously be made a lot quicker and everything. But, like, well.
Oh, yeah, no, Rebecca, I know that you're playing the devil's advocate, and I totally get that. But it's just, so this is what happened.
For the market, definitely. I'd look at that square pattern and be like, no.
Yeah. So I got, somebody referred me somebody wanted a stocking done, right? A Christmas stocking. Someone had made it for her 50 years ago. Now she wants new ones. I'm like, okay, cool. Is there a pattern? No, there's no pattern. Okay, so I'm going to have to design a pattern. I'm going to have to buy materials. I'm going to have to put my time into it. You want 2 of them. So what I did was I priced myself right out of that job. I said, sure, I can do it. It's going to be $20 an hour. I think it'll take around 10 hours of stocking. She's like, I don't want to pay that. I'm like, I'm sorry. But, and I knew she wasn't going to, because she had said to me, oh, I had an elderly woman make one before. And I'm like, I'm going to draft a pattern, which is going to take time. I'm not just going to wing it. And no, so I have to reinvent the wheel every time you ask me to do it. We're not doing this.
Little old ladies who is, it's $5 too much kind of a thing. And you're like,
right.
And I know there's people like on Etsy that will do $250 for a custom made Christmas stocking, and it'll be thick yarn and tweedy, and it will have your name on it. And you can choose from tree or deer or sleigh, and that's it. Or polar bear. And no more than that. That's all you get 2 colors. And that is all the options that they'll do, and make a good business out of that, and good for them. But
and like that elderly woman that remade these stockings for this person, that's awesome. I'm so glad you found somebody like that. I am currently a working mother who homeschools, who has I've got like 3 jobs, and so if you want me to do that, sure, but it's not going to be grandma making it. You know what I mean? It's a totally different game. But I don't know. I just think the sweater thing is so interesting, because I want to make what my time is worth, but is it really feasible in this community?
Maybe it could be in this community, because we kind of all have the perspective of what goes into creating something, whether it's a pattern. So maybe other crafters could understand charging that much money, but somebody on the street that doesn't really craft would see a pattern for that much, and they do the same thing they do with something that we, like you said, making the hat. They'd be like, well, I can go to Walmart and I can get that yarn for $5. And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but somebody had to put all the effort into that, and we don't mass produce. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And I can see, if you're going all in and you want to be a pattern designer, hey, bite the bullet, charge whatever you want. But it's just such a fickle world, this crafting world that we have. So I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing. Her history, she's got like a couple patterns out. And there was a lot of errors from what they've been saying. So, that's another thing. If I am going to charge $20 for my sweater pattern, you better bet that there are not going to be any errors. It's going to be so thoroughly tested. It's going to be tech edited. Because if I'm expecting somebody to give me that much money, it should open up on its own, and little butterflies should come out, and they should tell me the butterflies should tell me how many numbers to cast on, because it's that well written. You know what I mean?
And also there should be some. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I could just see it being like, when you look up a recipe online, if you don't jump to the recipe, it's this big long flowery thing about, back in the summers when we used to make iced tea, blah blah blah, and it's just an iced tea recipe, but you're getting all this fluff. It probably has to be something like that.
Yeah, it's half a novel, and you're buying it by installments. Oh, and also a knitting pattern.
Yeah, I think that Murder Knits has got it. She entitled. If you are a fantastic designer, if all of your stuff is like spot on all the time and stuff, then maybe you can ask more money for your patterns, because people know when they buy your pattern that's what's going to happen. The butterflies are going to come out. It's going to say, oh, you're a size extra large, cast on this many stitches. Like, you're not even going to have to do anything.
That's why my patterns are always free. There's no butterflies here.
Right.
Speaking of butterflies, Also, hi Tabitha. Okay, so I got this pattern this week. I saw it on Instagram, absolutely beautiful, and it's by this Japanese lady. And you know how the Japanese do everything so lovely and precise in their knitting patterns? It's all these little fine cables. Anyways, so I don't know if you can see it very well at all.
Oh,
Probably
I did
not.
see that.
There we go.
That is beautiful.
Anyways, it's mostly a garter shawlet kind of a thing, and there's cables in it, and it's just beautiful. But it's called Butterflies Flying Out of Your Stash Box. I'm like, does that translate better in Japanese? Because in English, you're like, that's not how that sentence ends.
Sure, it's not moths.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Butterflies flying out of your stash box.
It's probably something that's beautiful in Japanese.
Like,
well, another thing this lady was doing was she was, I think Tabitha said she was offering this coupon code, but then was like, yeah, but don't use it.
Yeah, only use
Oh,
it if you really need to. Well, who decides who really needs to? I don't have $25 for a pattern, but you might look at me and say, well, you make enough to like.
Well, this reminds me of
the
yarn dyers that, I mean, I don't know what Liz thinks about this, but there's the people that saying that if you're fat, you should get the yarn for your sweater cheaper than anybody else does who isn't fat. So say I might need 15 skeins of yarn, whereas Anne might only need 9 skeins of yarn, but we should both pay the same. You know, so the person that loses out is the yarn dyer and the person that's paid the standard rate. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, does it? So it's a bit like that. And how are they going to literally measure what size you are when you order the yarn? Who's going to verify?
Yeah. You have to show your W-2s to buy that pattern.
What's a W-2? I don't know what a W-2 is.
We get those. They tell you how much money you've made in a year. Everybody gets them at the end of the year.
Oh, right.
From your employer,
we have some. I can't think what we call ours. We have something. It's not called that though.
Yeah, and Yolanda says that even the Fish Lips Kiss Heel was 16 pages of sock instruction,
exactly.
$4.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're exactly right though, Neil. Like, who decides? So, like, if I see that I can get 15 skeins of yarn for the same price as 9,
yeah, why not?
I?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. And then it kind of ties back into when Lola Bean was selling the yarn that the daughter dyed, and they were like $50 a skein. Like, is that teaching your daughter a good work ethic, or is that teaching her to expect a lot because mommy said? I don't get it. Like,
and also,
my
is
kids,
that
I make them
exploiting child labor by any chance?
Right. Right. I don't know. But like, you know, I give my kids, I'll be like, hey, if you clean the bathroom, I'll give you $0.25. And they're like, okay. So I don't know. Okay, it's not that much, but you know.
But your children are privileged.
Well, obviously. Obviously.
Don't forget that.
I mean, with her as their mother, I mean, of course, very.
Adam's thanking me for something, and I don't know what he's thanking me for. He's put thanks, Neil. What's that about? You have to explain, Adam.
Have a stash box these days?
Oh, I think I know what he's saying. He's just I'm a bit slow. But that wasn't me. I didn't say that.
Yeah. This woman says apparently she's only designing for money and not for the love of creating. You know, yeah, to an extent, but then again, I when I was putting out my patterns for straight up free, I was putting out not a great pattern. It was fine. You could do it, but it wasn't anything fancy. Now that I charge people for them, you know, you got
more effort in. Yeah.
You put more effort in. Exactly. So
yeah.
Yes and no. But I don't, I had something else I was going to say, but it's gone. So
I know that feeling.
So Liz.
Yes,
yes, Liz.
We've had a shop update from you, a life update. How's it going?
Well, the life update affects the shop update in perpetuity. But so let's see, I was dyeing when we lived in Alabama, dyeing yarn. And then I took a kind of like what was like an internal travel contract position in Chattanooga, and I did that for 12 weeks. And that affected my nursing life, because after that I was like, I'm done with nursing. I can't do this anymore. This is wild. It's not safe. And then a friend of mine that's lived here in Texas and works for a certain hospital here, she said, if this is your last ditch effort with nursing, you have got to come try this place first before you call it quits, please. This is a whole different environment. So we sold our house and took a big gamble, and made some family members a little angry, and I bit the bullet and came out here, and I really do love this job. I work nights, and we're in a whole different state. We're in Texas now, and Fort Worth area, and I just haven't really figured out the logistics of picking up dyeing here. I have all my stuff except my recipe book. I can't find it.
Oh no.
So I would have to start from scratch with new colors, which is exciting to me. But I know this house is probably not our forever home, even if we decide to stay in this area, because we had to kind of buy what we could get, and the market was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just not really set up here for me to ruin my kitchen, you know, with a bunch of dye or powder everywhere. So it's just kind of figuring out where I'm going to dye. I know I do want to dye again. And I am kind of keeping ideas in the back of my mind, but it's just figuring out when that's going to happen. So the shop is kind of on a permanent, semi-permanent, sort of permanent hiatus right now.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a lot of inventory left, but because I don't know the recipes and couldn't recreate it, I've toyed around with the idea of maybe putting up some mystery bags in the shop, and it is what it is. I mean, I don't know that I would go like in a bunch of detail labeling it and everything. I would just kind of, it's DK, it's fingering, it's this content, you know. But as far as the colors and stuff, I don't know that I'll figure that out again without a lot of trial and error. Some of them I had down pretty pat in that book, just so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's been that. So loving the job, getting used to Texas. It's different here, very different. But yeah, we're doing it. I miss my grandbaby. If she's watching, Naomi, I love you.
Oh, she is pretty cute.
Yes.
Laundromat Girl says that she hasn't loved nursing in years. I envy your renewed spirit. So I guess it's turned, I mean, lots of jobs turn into a slog, but I can't imagine with all the things that have gone on the past couple of years.
Well, this is a completely different patient population. Like, I was in the adult world before, and now I don't want to give away too much, because people might be like, well, this plus this area equals this hospital, you know, but it's pediatrics, and it's just excellent. The team that I work with is excellent. We look out for each other. It's just so different, and the patient population is adorable, and it's a whole different set of issues that come up that are sad, but it's just so very different from the adult world. Mm-hmm. So I probably should have done this years ago, but yeah, I was too scared of taking care of someone else's child, and that, but now that I've done it, I love them so much. They're all so cute, even when they're mad and sick and grouchy. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. I'm glad it's working out for you.
Yeah. I'm sad about the yarn thing, but you know.
It'll come back. This is just a season. I know.
So what happened to the book? I mean, I know you've lost it, but how did you lose it?
What I'm thinking was I had to come out here early, and I packed the majority of my stuff for yarn, for my craft room. I got most of that packed because it was going to be left in the hands of my two younger teenage boys and my husband. And I don't know if it's just in a random box somewhere separated from everything, or if they saw this notebook that was stained, scribbled, and they were like, chuck it. So I don't know. I just haven't seen it. So
ooh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Well, lesson for the future. You need to scan them or take photos of your pages. You've got to back them up somehow.
Exactly.
Put them in a binder that says "Dye notebook. Do not discard." Big letters.
You won't die.
Orange.
Extra
Yeah, touch this and die.
Perfect.
And how many did you have in there, do you think? How many recipes? Hundreds?
No, because I had about 30 colorways that I didn't want to get too nebulous with my colors and be like, well, I can't keep all that in the shop all the time. And I was trying to kind of streamline what I had and then have something special thrown in every once in a while, like if I watched a movie and was inspired. Or so it wasn't too many, but it was a lot of notes, a lot of tweaking, a lot of my thoughts on the page and things that happened that I didn't like. And so it was just kind of my brain vomit while dying and all that.
Well, I'll gift you my Deadpool recipe if you like. It's just red and black.
Yeah.
A skein of Gigi. Then
oh yes, yeah, forgetting about that. You have to start with the Gigi base, yeah.
Right. I had a color of orange that was an accident color, and it was kind of a burnt orange, but it had some different tonal element, and it turned out really beautiful. And I only had about 6 skeins of it, and I put that in the shop, and it was gone. But I think I called it Orange Julius Caesar, and it was like an homage to our favorite orange president. So had nothing to do with Gigi.
yeah. I think I remember some people knitting some of those capital.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was cool.
It was a good color, but a total accident. Yeah.
Where's DK gone?
Tabitha said Hagrid's boxers were the best colorways.
Oh,
those were pretty good.
The dye dump. Yes. I love those.
Well, I've only just found you, so I want to order something now. But if you're not dyeing anything, what can I order?
Maybe I can throw you together a little care package of some of my inventory that's left. Honestly, I'd rather just gift it to people, and then because if I'm going to have to start from scratch with new colors, I'd almost rather gift it than because there's not a ton left. I got a lot behind me now. Sadly, a lot of that's my stash. It's not just inventory.
But yeah. How long has it been since we interviewed you? It's been a while.
It was before I go in COVID waves. It was before the Delta wave of COVID.
The Delta wave.
Yeah. It was before Delta came through. Yeah. It's been a minute. Yeah.
Laundromat Girl's asking, how will we find out if you have a stash buster sale?
I will announce it on my Instagram, Ewe and Dye Yarns.
That's you as in sheep.
Yes.
EWE.
You and Dye with a Y.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you and I craft together. I will definitely.
I still love. Sorry, it's like You and Dye is the sweetest, most straightforward, definite. Like yes, this is a yarn dyer. Yes, this is lovely, and you're like, so whips and chains, eh?
There had to be something respectable to all this.
Oh yeah.
I will definitely announce it, and it will be deeply discounted. So.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's always good. What about for fat people? Do we get an extra discount?
Do I get the fat discount? Where's the line?
Yeah, what is the line on that exactly? I've always wondered.
The 20 skein pesty. What were those jeans they used to sell? Oh, we'll have the husky order.
The husky
20 skein husky order.
Now you need a whips and chains colorway to be your comeback.
Yes.
Oh gosh. I think I would get in trouble. There would be somebody out there that was like, she's making fun of the BDSM culture.
Yeah,
they would.
They would. They would.
Who cares?
But maybe if you did it, you would have to say, I am making fun
Right.
of you. You know, actually own it and say, I'm making fun of you.
My ancestors
I think you have a problem.
were into that.
My ancestors were.
Yes. And then they would draw another conclusion from that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I'm just in landmines.
Oh, it's perfect.
Really, I need an assistant to keep me out of trouble. Because
Maybe that's what I should have called the magazine, Whips and Chains. Maybe I'm gonna rename it and relaunch.
Yeah.
Could you
Sorry to
imagine?
tell you, Neil, but if I'm like, yeah, I think everyone should go to subscribe to Whips and Chains magazine. If you like,
Well, the other block magazine's a porn site, isn't it?
Is it?
Remember that? Yeah. When I set it up, when I went to get the blocked magazine Instagram account, it turns out it was some porn thing. So
Isn't that always the way?
Whoops. Oh man.
Oh, Liz, I forgot to say right before we got on, but are you ready for the timed challenge?
Oh yeah.
Now I just want to say something about that. I had every intention of updating the leaderboard before tonight, and I would have done it if it was at 7:30, like I thought it was going to be. But I was wrong, so it's my fault.
The instant you said that, my palms are sweating.
Well, we can give you some time to prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to do it this second. Do it.
Yeah.
Normally I'm like, okay, someone's coming on. I'm like, oh, and make sure that if you want to, you don't have to cast on anything specific, but if you have a pattern already where you have some.
Well, she's working garter stitch right
Yeah,
now,
I
so
have a-
she's
That's
good to go.
true. You are totally clear.
It's cotton though. Shoot.
But to read from the leaderboard behind me, because I don't have a fancy tech one. I just have a pen like a normal.
Here's
I just have
Tabitha.
to get one greater than one stitch, right?
Yeah.
No pressure, just don't beat my time. That's Tabitha.
Okay. Oh, there's no way. No way.
Yeah.
I think that this
Coming off
whips
her
and
heel.
chains thing is going a bit far.
Oh
Adam.
no, Gibson wimp. What?
And then you've got, what is it, brioche burps and barks? Isn't that like the dog people? What are they called? The ones that dress
Furry.
as dogs.
Oh, furry. Oh,
Wow.
just. Anyway.
Here, wait. Emily said you could have a special whips and chains edition.
Yes. I'm going to do it. In fact, right, I'm going to say it now. At some point, I don't know when, some point this year, we'll have a special edition where it's a whips and chains. So I'll give a nod to Liz for coming up with the idea. And so we want pattern submissions connected to whips and chains, and
Or we could do like a story edition with everybody talk about their oldest whip and like maybe a story of how you finished it. In addition to crochet patterns only, because there's not a lot of crochet patterns in Blocked.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that might be changing soon, by the way. That might be changing. Cool. So I can't say too much just yet, but there's something in the pipeline.
Nice. But
sorry, that killed that conversation, didn't it?
Okay.
I was reading the comments. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. That's
The
right.
whips and chains
So
conversation could.
Tabitha is winner chicken dinner at 68 stitches per minute.
Okay.
I'm the first among losers at 59. Let's see. Amy from Two Stitches and Some Yarn is at 57.
What are
Liz
these people doing?
is at 53. Devery's at 47. DK's at 37. Lynn is 36. Marie from Skeins is at 35. Tina 34. Neil 31. Carrie is at 16. Horror Armorata is at 2, and Birdie is at 1, which is kind of a gimme because the poor gal was having a struggle.
Can I just point out, I am the fastest man on the list and the slowest man on the list, so I win both trophies.
That is true. We
Here.
lack diversity on our leaderboard.
Adam is on a roll today.
He is, isn't he? Yeah.
I mean, you could do that in your whips and chains edition. 50 Shades of Yarn. Oh my god. My mother-in-law watches this.
Tabitha's
I'm sorry.
just said, I wish I got one more stitch to go. I'm not going to say. I'll let you decide if you want to say it. There's always one, isn't there?
I know. Tabitha, why come on our show? I know it's because,
Well, speaking of Tabitha, she's done 2 releases this week, hasn't she? And we're doing a show on Friday. Awesome. So we're doing one of our double up act things, which we should have done last week, but there was too much going on last week with help move my mum over the weekend, so couldn't do it then.
Are you talking about the McCanns? Is that the one you're going to do?
No, we're going to talk. I think we're going to be talking about what was she called? Louise Woodward. She was the nanny, the British nanny that killed the baby in Manhattan, I think. Allegedly killed the baby in Manhattan. But I think it's going to be an interesting one because I think most British people think she's innocent and most Americans think she's guilty. So I think it'll be quite just from a different cultural point of view and how we interpreted things differently. So I think it'll be a good one.
That sounds
I'll
fun.
have to catch up on that. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, Birdinix has just put the killer nanny. I'll just say the innocent nanny.
Yeah, and then back just one more thing back to the other conversation because I can't let this pass. Does anybody want to sing it?
No.
I hear it in my mind, but
I know I do too, but I'm not doing it. As Anne said yesterday, the internet is forever.
Yeah.
Oh, which means that this conversation will be forever. Fantastic. You guys.
All right. Are you ready, Liz?
Yes,
oh man.
We almost got there.
Do you want me to get the timer ready, or have you done it already?
Let me push all my stitches forward.
Who's timing? Do you want me to do the timer, or have you got it?
I've got this stopwatch that I still don't know how to use.
Okay, I'm set up for the timer if you want me to do it.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
All right, shall I do a 5 countdown? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
By the way, Tabitha says that she also thinks that the nanny is innocent. So it might
well, we're going to have a rubbish show then, aren't we?
Oh, man.
Right, no, she's guilty as hell.
Guilty.
That's funny. I know the story, but I don't remember enough details. I'll have to.
You're probably
when
too
is this,
young.
on Friday?
Friday, yeah. I don't know the time yet though, because Tabitha's on the West Coast, isn't she? So I get confused with the times. So
I'm at co-op on Friday, so I'll have to catch it up later. I have to go teach young minds and hearts about knitting and crocheting. Oh. I will not repeat any of this to them.
Speaking of, I don't think I mentioned it, but speaking of young minds and hearts and time change, this reminds me because I don't think I said, unless I did.
3, 2, 1, stop.
35. Pitiful.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
You're right in there with me.
That was all nerves.
Yeah,
you beat me.
And she has like a whole dang yarn company. So
let me get my my pills. I'm kidding. That is nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh.
It is. There is something about it while you're doing it and everybody's here. And,
It's not so bad when other people are doing it because we all did it in one of the first episodes, didn't we?
Like if you guys had just been sitting there like this, oh my god.
We should do next time. We'll do that.
No, that's mean. No. So, Anne, what is Hearts and Minds and Time Changes? Tell us.
Oh, that I was on Christine Smith's homeschooling podcast, Coming Home. Did I say that? Is her homeschooling shindig?
You mentioned it on one of our shows.
Okay, I did mention it. All right.
I listened to it.
Was it good? I didn't know that it was that good. Afterwards, I'm sitting there like, no, wait, I have things that I should have said and made sense and which is with
Every time I'm on somebody else's show, I do that.
Sorry, my phone's ringing. Let me just turn the sound off.
My hands are trembling.
First rule of vlogging and podcasting: turn your phone off.
That's right. Tabitha says
Yeah.
Stig wins again. She's still a Stig. She gets the white helmet.
One day, Tabitha, one day.
Exactly.
We'll find someone. I don't know who it'll be yet, but we'll find them.
The
We
taller
should
you
have
are,
like
the
a
harder you fall.
championship, like a winner's circle, and then they have a championship stitch off, and then we'll see.
I don't know. That sounds really complicated.
The Final
Oh.
Fantasy.
Anne's interview with Christine was fabulous. Go watch.
Oh, thanks.
There you go. I still haven't watched it. I forgot about it. I'm sorry.
That's the thing though, that okay, with these shows or with anything else, I'm like, okay, I was there. I don't need to watch it. I'm like, oh, it was good though. Like, don't look.
Yeah.
You can tell
And
that I don't do any of the editing or anything, because then I would be forced to accept things that I say on the internet, which, as we said, are forever.
That's why I just do everything live now. I don't want to look at myself talking at all.
yeah, I don't mind editing our podcast. It's nice to have a set time when it goes out, and especially with our schedules being the way they've been lately. It's strange times for most people for us to be live.
That's
so
Anne's fault for having a job. Oh,
would you knock it off, Anne?
yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
Would that I could.
Do you really need money that much?
Well,
Can't you beg for it? Just beg for the money like everyone else.
Dude, I have a plan. We were talking about begging, which but now that we know that you can charge, $25, $30, $35 a pattern, I mean, just go for it.
Exactly. Everybody who got this shawl pattern could now send me $20 more. That would be great. It's kind of a retrospect. I think you owe me more money.
And I need to buy a house in the south of Italy, and it needs a grand staircase. So I really need you to give me some money for that.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking of having liposuction as well, and I need you to pay for that too.
So Neil, the first step to that dream might be to make your magazine a pay magazine.
$25.
Oh, if only I'd thought of that. Yeah, I could charge. What is it? The going rate is these days for online
magazines? $50, $75,
40 to 50, isn't it? Yeah. And then also have a fundraiser at the same time to have enough money to make the next issue. Even though you're paying for it twice. That's a bargain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yolanda says you need to make a livable wage from designing and podcasting. Yeah. Someday we'll grow up and we'll make money.
Hey, so I went to Barnes and Noble the other day and basically walked around going, wow, everything's at full price. It's so expensive. And what did I do? I walked around and I looked at the books and I went, well, this is lovely. I'll go and buy a used version.
Yeah.
That is the level of cheap that I'm at, where I'm like, oh,
Speaking of books, have you seen what that one particular, they've been changing books to make them woke.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Dan's
I can't read, Anne will know who this is, I hope, but there's one particular set of books that if you bought them online in the past, as in on your Kindle or on your phone, they're now changing them, even though you bought the original. You are no longer allowed to read that version. You have to have the new version.
Yep, with the Roald Dahl books.
Roald Dahl, yeah,
yes,
that's it. I couldn't think who it
they're
was.
like, no, we're not changing them. Okay, we'll have an updated version, but you can still buy the classic version. But I think the Kindle version's already changed.
007 ones as well. I think they're all being retroactively changed.
What is?
It makes me mad.
The James Bond 007.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. Yeah. Okay.
Which I just find it really disturbing. Really disturbing. It bothers me more than I would have thought it might. You know what I mean? Because it's like these are books I don't particularly read. I've never read James Bond. I've read Roald Dahl as a kid and stuff, but I just think it's so wrong. It doesn't matter what's in that book. That's what it was published on that day, when it was originally published.
Right, it's almost sacrilegious.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, my mind is blown that you can just
Mhm.
change a book. I mean, what's the difference? Go check it in the fire if that's the road we're going down. I mean,
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too, that I mean, it's changing the book itself is awful, but just there's all the media thing of like, well, of course changing books is good. You have to remove the evils from it. And that you need art in its correct context, but what happens when you have people who literally the context of the art that it's in is so alien to them, it's like becomes a wickedness.
Well,
that like
what
there's like a moral, like, oh, I can't possibly understand or also accept people with different mentalities from a different era.
Oh, Danielle in the comments has just said what I was about to say myself, so I'll let Danielle say it if you don't mind putting it on the screen. I was thinking about J.K. Rowling. You know, at what point are they going to say that Harry Potter was written by somebody else? You know, so that she's
God.
completely gone. Because if they can lie and change, because they're lying about history as well now. History books are being changed. Dictionaries, we had this a year ago, didn't we, where we were looking at dictionary definitions.
Yeah,
They're
the
changing
online
it without
change.
us knowing. You know, each edition has completely new definitions of things. So it literally is. I know we all keep harping on about 1984. We all keep going back there, don't we? But it's like the guide for the future, 1984. It really is.
It is.
Oh, that was cheerful.
I know.
Sometimes when Anna and I get done with our show, I'm like, wow, now I'm like super depressed.
Okay, so I have this is a stupid rant, okay? I'm prefacing it with this, but yesterday I went on a little bit about the X-Men movies. And I know that, Neil, you read the comic books, so you are well known about. I had this thing about changing it too far. And then afterwards I was sitting there like, well, there's a difference between an adaptation, like different Shakespeare plays. When you see it in different movies, it's all the same play, but they take it at a little different angle. And, to a certain extent, that's all right. But there is definitely a line where Macbeth is no longer Macbeth. They just have the name on it. Anyways, and I was sitting there and, okay, I don't know how familiar you are with the X-Men movies. I had never seen X-Men First Class or X-Men Apocalypse. So I watched both of them this past weekend. And The Banshees of Inisherin, which is a dreadful movie. I have no idea why it won so many awards. But that entire movie is one of those movies where you're uncomfortable the whole time. And it was bad. Anyways, but... I'm sitting there watching X-Men Apocalypse, and I don't want to spoil it too much. But, the whole storyline with Magneto, who is a Holocaust survivor, and something terrible happens to him. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm just like a little fragile lately, but stories about bad things happen to Holocaust survivors hit a little harder, even in a fictional universe, in a world of book burning. Okay. I'm having a moment. I'm like... Like, this isn't good. This is not a good day. This is, remember when we said never again? Oh, what did Gina Carano get canceled for? The little meme that she had of how did it start with othering your neighbors and doing other stuff like this. And now our books are changing because James Bond isn't allowed. It's only a name that literally everybody knows, and they're changing his books. Anyways, sorry. That was a loosely connected rant, but
I was trying to think of something X-Men related to top that with, but I can't think of anything at the moment. So,
so
is it the Donald Gleason film? Sorry, was it Gleason? Is he called in that Banshees? And what's it called, the Irish actor?
Colin. What is he? He's
not Firth.
Not Firth, or not? Is it Farrell? Not Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Was it them two where they fall out or something? Is that what the film is? Where they won't speak to each other? Right.
No, it was okay. It was a weird movie. But the movie is it's this little tiny island in Ireland, and the one guy just straight up decides he doesn't want to be the other guy's friend anymore. And it kind of breaks his heart. But then it's just weirder from there. Like I'm sitting there like, okay, if this is the base of your plot line, it's halfway between more could have happened, but also they had that main plot and then it just went weird. And I was like, you could have got there in a more sensible way. It was a weird movie.
I've not seen it.
I mean, see it if you like, but it's one of those, it's like, I think it's one of those films that they're like, the reason you don't understand it is because it's super deep. And I'm like,
Oh, one of those.
no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That's a bit like, was
No.
it called Mother? Was it Mother? The one with her out of the one where they kill each other. What's it called? Oh, what's she called? The actress, and it's Hunger Games. Did you see that? Where is it called Mother? The film she's in that was weird, where they kill and eat the baby.
Oh.
No, it's like a really weird, and it was supposed to be some kind of biblical thing. I don't know. It's very, very odd. You might want to watch that because that won loads of awards, and it was the weirdest film I've ever seen.
I don't know.
Oh, if we're going to talk about weird movies, before I forget, I have to throw this one in here. I guess it came out in 2015. I've never heard of it. My husband found it on some sort of streaming thing. Kurt Russell, David Arquette, Jack from Lost. It's called Bone Tomahawk. It's the creepiest Western.
I've heard
seen it.
Crowder talk about this.
Is it? Can I just say,
is
is there a lady with no
wild.
arms and legs?
Yes.
Yes, I know which one it is. Yeah.
That movie is a freak show. I was so disturbed. It was like one of the things that gives you nightmares after you watch it. But then the Kurt Russell and this other guy in the movie, I forget his name. Their banter is so lighthearted, and they're such good friends, and it's almost like they're on this friendly cowboy search party thing, and then it just turns into the most psychotic thing ever.
It is very
Bone
disturbing.
Tomahawk. Watch it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Tabitha wants to know what kind of movies you watch, Neil.
I love horror films, and I love suspense type things. So I watched one the other day called Strays, and it's a British film, but very, very odd. Worth watching. Has a very strange ending. It's one of those where you're uncomfortable all the way through. Do you know what I mean?
I really do. And it's I just hate movies where the whole time you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Oh, like that drives me nuts.
They're my favorites.
Well, then maybe you'd like this Banshees movie.
Maybe. Yeah. I liked the Lighthouse film, and that was uncomfortable. Did you watch that black and white?
I
film?
haven't.
The preview of that movie.
Oh, it's good. What's fantastic? If you like art, if you're an art person, every single shot is like a photo. You know, it could be on the wall. You know, it's absolutely stunningly shot. But it is so claustrophobic and so uncomfortable to watch. Brilliantly acted. But it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, uncomfortable is the only word I can say. It's like 3 hours of being like, oh.
Yeah, I heard it was really weird, but I wanted to see it because Robert Pattinson's in it, and I heard
he's
that
brilliant.
His
He's
character's
brilliant
really
in it.
weird, and
And I really realized after watching that he is a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because prior to that, he's always been in, you know, Harry Potter or whatever, you know, so you don't
he was
really.
barely in Harry Potter, whatever.
Well, he was.
He was the vampire in Twilight. That's why everybody knows him.
I only watched the first one, and I couldn't bear to ever watch any others of that ever again. It was the most boring film I have ever seen, ever.
Okay. My half stand up for Twilight, that if you're with the right people and you're just having a good time, and
if you're stoned.
Hey. Okay, I told this story before, but with my now sister-in-law, she had never seen them before, and they were all on Netflix, and we're like, no, we're watching this. And I had only seen like the first 3 and like the ending bit, and suddenly they're like, and we have international vampires now, because the entire point of Twilight, it's a self-insert fan fiction. So it's like, we're just going to like people this world farther, and you're going to end the story. I'm like, okay, cool. And then Lee Pace showed up for no reason as the most American vampire. And I'm like, whoa, where did this guy come from? Why isn't there more of him? Like, I don't want to hear about Bella and Edward and the rest of it. That's stupid. Tell me about the guy who is literally prejudiced against British people because he was, you know, actually in the American Revolution, and he's a vampire now. That's a hilarious concept.
if you want to watch a great vampire film with werewolves, watch What We Do in the Dark. Is it?
Or
This New Zealand film.
I've heard that's very funny.
What We Do in the Shadows or What We Do in the Dark.
Yes.
I can't remember which it is now.
It's
It
the
is
Shadows.
really good. Really, really funny.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Best
That's
vampire
right.
thing
Yolanda
ever.
says Team Jacob. Jacob said.
I just thought it was all like glowering at people. You know, they were all like, you know, all this all the way through. Nothing actually being said or done. You know.
Bella biting her lip.
And Selfish
That
Knitter says
is also why it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I like Twilight. I do. And I
It's
like
a
Robert
guilty
Pattinson in
pleasure.
them.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine. If they're on, I'll sit and I'll watch them all the way through.
But I mean, that doesn't mean that the storyline is good or that the characters aren't horribly flawed, or like if I had kids that wanted like the way that like Edward is controlling of Bella and then Jacob is like super passive aggressive and control, like everybody's controlling her. Like I would never want my kids in that relationship in real life, but you know.
Well, one's a vampire, one's a werewolf. Surely you wouldn't want
but-
your child with either of them.
No, I'm talking about just the way they act.
Is that it's like yes, is Twilight very, very bad relationships? Like yes, it is. Yes, it's this
Very
that
bad
it is.
relationships.
No, but it is seriously a perfect, absolutely perfect representation of female daydreams. The entire world flipping revolves around you and who you get together with. Everybody loves you. Like there's vampires, there's werewolves, there's international like underground supernatural, you know, societies, and they are all up in arms because you get together with the vampire. Again, flawless, perfect. Makes total sense.
It's no,
I
as I'm
remember the
older,
first-
I see how messed up it is, but it's, I don't know. I
remember
still
my-
like them.
My first read through the books, and then it got to where she named the baby Renesmee. I was like, I almost threw the book, and then I had to think of it. The only way I could reconcile it was, okay, she's still a kid, and a kid, you know, she's teen mom basically. Did she make it to 20? I don't remember. She's a teen mom, and she thinks it's really cute to combine the two moms' names. That was the only way I could reconcile that name.
It's like perfect white girl name for her kid.
That didn't happen in the first film.
No,
don't
that's
know.
the last one.
I don't remember that bit.
But geez, I don't even know what I was going
All
to
of
say.
that to say, I thought Robert Pattinson made a great Batman, though I really
I've
hated
not
how
seen
the
him
end
yet.
was.
I liked it too. I liked him too.
I haven't
thought-
seen him in that either.
It was visually a very cool movie. Soundtrack was awesome. But yeah, they definitely had the sort of woke notes in it, and the ending, I was like, that's not cool. But I liked I've watched it like 3 times, so that will tell you. I thought he
Oh,
was
it must be
good.
good. Yeah.
Andy Serkis, awesome. Set dressing,
Oh,
flawless.
who does he play? Who's Andy Serkis?
He plays Alfred, actually, which is interesting.
Ah.
Yeah.
Because he was Gollum, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's been everything.
Yeah.
Morgan says that he was too emo of a Batman.
It was like he was part of the architecture, though, because he has.
But isn't
very
Batman
square
emo?
jaw.
He's the ultimate emo, isn't he? Batman?
I don't know. I'm not that into this stuff. Everybody's like, oh, I like Keaton, I like this. I'm like, you know, we owned the one where Robin was in it. Chris O'Donnell was Robin.
Oh,
I
where
thought
they
he was
had
cute, so I
nipples on
watched
their
it a lot.
outfits.
I don't remember that part of it because I was
I
like
do.
13 when I was watching it. But yeah,
No, I think that one was a good time. I think Dark Knight trilogy is like one of the highest of all superhero. Just phenomenal.
I did like the Joker with is it Joaquin? Is he called Phoenix? Joaquin Phoenix. That was a
Yeah,
good
I
Heath
film.
Ledger. Oh no, just the recent one.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought Heath Ledger as the Joker was crazy awesome. But
Yeah, he was good. Well, when the announced they were doing the one with the Phoenix guy, whatever his name is, I just thought, oh, this is going to be rubbish. I just couldn't imagine him. And I didn't like what they seemed to be portraying. But when you watch that film, it's actually a great film you can watch without any Batman knowledge at all. I mean, he's in it, isn't he, as a boy, Batman, but he's not Batman. So it's kind of a background story. It's actually good. You could watch it with no superhero reference at all.
Yeah. I want to know when George Clooney was Batman because I don't remember that happening.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was, yeah.
For real?
Yeah, it was just one film, wasn't it?
That's when the suit had nipples. Was when George Clooney was.
Was that was the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, right? Or was that a different Batman?
Arnold Schwarzenegger was in one of them?
Yeah.
As a villain,
What?
yeah.
As Mr. Freeze.
Oh, they've all been in them, haven't they? They've all been in
No,
Batman.
that was what's his face?
Val Kilmer, wasn't it? Who was the one?
Yeah.
He was Batman, wasn't he? At one point.
I think
Yeah,
Val
and
Kilmer
he
was...
ended up happy, which never happens, which is, again, my chief complaint. And I get it, that's a chick complaint, and it should be an actor about that. But it's like, he actually got the girl in the end and defeated the Joker, had a nice life. Like, good for you.
That might be the one I was talking about with Robin in it. I feel like Val Kilmer could have been in it. I don't remember. I'm telling you, this was 30 years ago. It's hard to remember.
Don't die, Neil.
I unmuted. I was very professional then. Did you notice? Yeah, I've got, when you've got something stuck in the back of your throat. I should rephrase that, shouldn't I? Like a crumb or something.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, here's my random X-Men question for you, Neil. So everyone else talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
So
Is this a test?
Yes. So in
Okay.
X-Men world, you have your evil League of Evil, your mutant team, all
Brotherhood of
everyone else.
Evil Mutants.
Yes, Evil Brotherhood. Okay. What is their general view of superheroes who aren't mutants?
Ooh.
Do they have a name for them? They're like they're like mutants are supreme, screw the humans, but they look at Spider-Man and they go, is he just like an aberration? Is he?
I think so. They don't tend to address that, I don't think. But yeah, I think they're seen as inferior.
Okay.
Because mutants are the superior race.
Right.
And anything else is just Homo sapien, as they call them,
Okay.
which is what we all are, aren't we? Yeah, so people like Spider-Man, yeah, they just see them as, I don't know what the word is, but yeah, definitely not. Well, there's the Inhumans as well now. They've done this. Do you know about the Inhumans?
They did. Okay, again, sorry for not reading comic books, but they had that plot line in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I know that.
Well, now there's a huge war between mutants and Inhumans. So it's kind of... So, I don't know. So there's humans at the bottom, then Inhumans and mutants are fighting for supremacy. It's gone crazy. I don't read it anymore because it's gone so silly. They now have their own island where you can only be a mutant to go on this island. And if any mutant dies, they can bring them back to life, which kind of ruins every plot line ever because now you don't have to worry about them dying.
I guess, but it sounds like a super racist island.
Yeah, yes. Well, they always are. It's like Wakanda, isn't it? Like the most racist nation ever invented by a white Jewish man.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the whole, I mean, MCU has totally ruined their crap, but it's like, okay, so all of the Asgardians are going to live in Norway, not Wakanda, and Wakanda is apparently superior to whatever the Asgardians have. It's like your aliens who populate planets. You couldn't have taken the Mars or the moon or... like you have all this why are you just being sad in Norway? Wouldn't the technology of the entire world
Sorry, Norway.
because you're here and you're sharing technology? I guess not. You had 9 realms. Why did you choose this one? Like, this makes sense.
So you guys are saying words, and I'm sure there's sentences.
I know,
I'm so lost.
I love talking superheroes with DK because
next we'll talk about Doctor Who.
Oh
yeah, let's do that. Oh, we should do a quiz for DK, like a superhero Doctor Who, sci-fi quiz, and just see how well she does.
Like when I was growing up, my brother was really into like X-Men and stuff, but that was, like I said, forever ago, and I'm pretty sure that they've wrecked all the stuff that I knew,
Yeah, they have. Absolutely, they have. So imagine what it's like for me when I was reading the X-Men in the 70s, and now it's just like, oh, why did I waste all those years reading those stories?
And I'm sitting here apologizing because I don't have the background to comment. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Okay, this is my favorite comment of today so far. So you suspend all disbelief until Norway, and then, oh yeah, that's the unbelievable bit.
It's illogical. And you're like, aliens? And I'm like, okay, I got it. And they're like, no, they're in Norway now. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah, that's the unbelievable bit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, speaking of Norway, well, it's not really speaking of Norway, but Scandinavia. We had the Northern Lights here, not last night, the night before. And I slept through it, missed it completely. Probably never happen again.
That's discouraging.
You look very confused, DK. What's the matter? You're like...
Oh, I don't know. I'm still cold from my zoo trip. I'm just huddled in my blankets.
See, I thought
Adam wants you guys to talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh, when's the David Tennant Doctor Who coming out? Does anybody know? I suspect it's only going to be 2 episodes. Is that what it's going to be? I think, and then it'll go back to the normal crap.
Yeah. Well, I think they had to gimmick it so bad because they wrecked their show.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that I hear people talking about, the new, like the Marvels movie or whatever, that 2 of the 3 main characters of this are only Disney Plus. So what are they going to have to do to make it a gimmick? It's kind of like they did with the Star Trek movies where they had to kill Captain Kirk to get people into theaters. It's like, well, what are they going to do to get people to watch this? The first Captain Marvel movie, like seriously, I only saw it because Endgame was next, and it was sort of built like, this will be the final piece of the puzzle going up to the next movie. Like, okay, I'll go see it. All right, that sucked, but what's the next one?
Yeah, it was pretty bad, wasn't it? That one, exceptionally bad.
Mm-hmm. Who's Captain Marvel?
It's a captain called Marvel.
Right. I understand that. But...
Well, the question, who is Captain Marvel, is a very complicated one to answer. Anybody that's read the comics will understand why I'm saying that. There's about 7 different characters that have at different points been called Captain Marvel. And the current one is... they've done it so that this woman, who probably is going to be a lesbian, is pretty much the most powerful person in the universe.
Are you saying that Brie Larson's Captain Marvel isn't a lesbian? Because that's what I thought, and I'm like, sorry, not for me. As a straight woman, I mean, you have fun, guys.
I thought I was being clever, reading the signs. Maybe it's just too obvious. I don't know.
The haircuts.
I don't know. My gaydar isn't accurate, but that were the vibes I got. So,
well, now Marvel, every single character is trans and gay or whatever now, isn't it? Literally, almost every single one of them. It's like, oh God, is that it? That's what the stories all revolve around now. One of the latest ones, this woman writer, he is sort of singing her own praises about she's the first person to have a storyline in a superhero comic where 3 women share a sexual kiss. So 3 women characters share a lesbian kiss in the storyline, and she's all, and this is for kids. This is for kids.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Why does that need to be in a kid's anything?
Because it's proving that superheroes can be bollocks, whatever it is, polyamorous. I can't think what the word is.
Yeah. And that is why American comics are failing.
Yeah. And because everybody was up in arms about Hogwarts Legacy, they did throw a trans character in there. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm sure that when my kids come across it, they won't actually know what that is. But it's just so much woke.
I think it's a barkeeper.
It's kind of along the lines of ironically, we watched Shrek 2 last night, and that character in Hogwarts Legacy kind of reminds me of Larry King's character, the ugly sister.
Oh, is that the barmaid in one of them?
It's just like a lady that's in this pub, and she walks up and she looks like a lady, but she has a very deep voice. And my boys immediately are like, is that a man's voice? And I said, well, it's either a man's or she's a very heavy smoker. And then, so it was kind of up.
Good answer.
There's one other character that you run into as well, and it's not in your face. It's only if you open up a certain dialogue with her, because she mentions somebody's name. And if you say, who is so-and-so, she'll say, well, that's my wife, and she helps me, blah, 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 blah. But if you don't open that dialogue, I don't think it ever even comes up in the conversation. So far, it's been pretty benign. I mean, there hasn't been anything too in our face about it.
Don't you think that they put that in because everybody is so up in arms about JK that they threw those in to appease the people who did play the game? Like,
and probably
we're
to try and annoy you.
It could be, or she had it thrown in and was like, hey, I'm going to put this in there and they can keep talking smack and look ridiculous. I've got a trans character. I've got
I don't think she had anything to do with it. I think it was all.
Oh, here I was thinking she was being salty. Like, yeah.
I would love that answer, but I'm just not sure. See, they claim it's not the reason. I'm sure it's the reason. Why else would they have put it in there? Well, whatever.
See,
they're trying to make it normal. Sorry, Ann.
Sorry. I thought that Neil, when he's like, speaking of Norway with the Northern Lights things, I thought you were going to talk about what new horror has found us with the with the Netherlands, that bill that they're passing.
Oh no, I don't know much about that, so you'll have to tell us.
Yeah, not to turn left from happy pop culture, whatever, into actual horrifying, like, break yourself bills that are being passed. But in the Netherlands, they want to pass this bill that they will have embryos that are entirely lab created, and then they will experiment on them until they die.
Oh, geez.
And they're not just going to be human.
Yeah, and then they're like, and then we'll do some human animal cross mutation. And I'm like, how I was joking with Judge Dredd yesterday about how it's an authoritarian overworld and then you have to fight your clone brother. Well, no wonder your clone brother is ticked, because look at what you did. Look at what you did.
Yeah, in whatever story that has been imagined has crossing animals and humans ever ended well.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, for real.
The island of Dr. Moreau? Or
Any Greek mythology should tell people that. Christ.
It's like, do you remember Dr. Fauci with the beagles? And the beagles their faces were eaten by sandflies, and they cut their vocal cords so they could not scream.
Not listening.
I know. I'm such a horrible. But it's like, no.
Do you know what upset me the most about that? It wasn't what they did to them. What upset me the most was why they picked beagles. And it's because they're so eager to please. And it broke my heart, that bit of it.
Sweet and
because it's like, how could you do that to
horrifying.
Something that is just wanting to be with you and, please you? How awful is that? I don't know. God. No. Well, did you hear about the thing in Spain? But although I'm going to say this, I need to do the caveat that some sources are saying it's not true. So I don't know. But apparently...
I guess we should have put some content warnings, because, Liz, I'm so sorry. You said earlier if Naomi is watching.
Sorry. Mom is good about spiriting her away if something takes a turn.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a fantasy story. That's all it is. It's just a story. In Spain, allegedly, they've decriminalized having sex with animals. But some sources are saying that it's not true. But you know how the lefties kind of twist things that are true to try and make out it's not as bad as we say it is. I can't quite get to the bottom of whether it is true or not yet. So that's one for you, Anne. You might want to look into that
just
one.
think about how many times we've been told that's not happening, and then it's happening. We're not coming for your gas stove. That's not happening. And
3 weeks to flatten the curve.
yeah.
Cleveland, Ohio is the first American 15-minute city.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
But they're
What?
not real, Anne. That's all a conspiracy theory.
Stopping you from going anywhere ever or anything or
Don't you have to have like a dang good reason to leave your zone in these 15-minute cities?
Exactly. No, but just okay. But back to 15-minute cities and back to just horrendous abuse of animals in Spain, and then with Dr. Fauci, and then again with human embryos. It is the actual torture and abuse of things that cannot even protest, that cannot say anything about it, that cannot cry out.
If you think about a lot of the left pro-abortionists, for example, they're quite happy for babies to be, unborn babies to be ripped apart and whatever. But you do anything to an animal, and they'll be up in arms because they're all vegans or whatever. And this thing that this is the first I'm hearing about it, but I'm just thinking this is going to be the new beagles. The new beagles being experimented on are going to be babies. And they won't be fetuses. I think that's what they'll be doing. Is these are going to be cloned babies that, because they're a clone, they are not. They don't have any human rights. And that's what they're probably going to do. In fact, I bet they're already doing it. It wouldn't. Oh, Liz, Liz has had enough. I've said too much.
Right.
Sorry, Liz. Come back. We'll talk about happy
she's
things.
Coming back.
No, but yeah. Sorry, not to take a just miserable turn, but yes, and it is something that has been explored in a fictional universes before, and it's like, oh gosh, how can you not have the imagination first off, and then also the empathy for this? And again, back to removing books and back to editing things and removing ideas and just the most basic of like, am I not a man? Is this not a human being? How can you other people and infants to such an extent? And, sort of the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel, that even, sorry, it's a biblical thing that, that a godly man will even regard the life of his animal, that it's will still have empathy, even though even though biblically it's not as if a dog has a soul, but you still have empathy for the dog, and you're still in charge of the dog, and you still want to take care of it to the best extent. That there's no, I don't know, it's just so sick.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a move, I think, to take away people's right to be classed as human, for example, because I'm always going on about this. The UK government has got their human augmentation document on their website, and it's there in black and white what they plan to do to us. And one of the things is that the moment we are augmented in any way, then there's a moral question as to whether you are still human and whether you then have human rights. And the bottom line of it, when you read it all, is that you won't be human, so that you will belong to whoever has put the augmentation into your body. And this is on the British government website. And I keep sharing it and telling people, because it's such a boring document, I don't think people read it all the way through. Another one for you, Anne. I think you might be able to make heads or tails of it.
So what counts as being augmented, though?
Well, they're going to do things like, apparently what they can already do is give people vision that they can see. So they're starting with troops, the army and soldiers and whatever. They're going to give them the ability to see in the dark. So they'll do something to their lenses or
That's
give them
cool.
Well, it's cool until you realize what the repercussions are.
Until somebody your eyes.
Well, until
I want that.
you leave the army. Because they're saying in this document that if you then leave the army, who owns the eyes? Ooh. And you might have to have your eyes amputated or have it taken back to what it was before, if that's a possibility. And with you no longer being human, you won't have the right to argue your case, basically. It's sick. It's really bad. Although it sounds great, it does sound, because and I think they're at that point where they could do, the bionic. Oh, you probably won't remember this. You're probably too young, but the bionic man and the bionic woman. Yeah, you're looking all blank. You don't know who the bionic man and woman is.
I remember that vaguely.
I do.
So I think I posted it this week. It's a meme of the actual world on fire, and then it's Julie Andrews with the Von Trapp children playing the guitar in the field. That's what my life is. That's what I want my life to be. I want to be in the field with my children, and the world can burn, and I don't I know we need to know this stuff, but good Lord, it's
a lot.
So depraved, and they're okay with this.
Yeah.
I know. It reminds me again with the imagination thing, but it was reports from the Nuremberg trials. Again, happy, joy. But it was somebody talking about the different doctors and people, and I forget the person who wrote this, but about how it struck them so deeply, not that this person was deeply evil, but that they were essentially so boring and they lacked the imaginative capacity. It's like, didn't you know what would happen? No, they reply dully, and you believe them because no, my mind would never go that direction. No, my mind is in the box forward and it will not stray from that. And
people are I think there's just a lot of apathy. People are kind of like, well, what can I do about it? What, if they're doing these weird experiments, what can I do about it? I'm just one person. And even if there are a lot of people, I don't know that we've been dumbed down, but there's definitely not a sense of, well, not on our side. It seems like the rise up mentality and fight against it is lacking. It's not as organized, and there's not as much momentum for rise up and burn everything down like there is on the left.
Anne and I had a bit of a conversation about this a while back. Don't know if you remember this, Anne, where we were talking about British and not having the right to bear arms. And I think Anne said, people need to stand up and demand that. And I was trying to, yeah, but we never would. And you said, well, nothing will ever change. Or so I can't remember how you and it's kind of like, yeah, you were right. But we wouldn't. We're so indoctrinated. There is very few people alive that remembers anyone in Britain ever having the right to own a gun, for example. So it's gone from our collective memory. So we no longer think it's something we should have. It's like beyond our comprehension. And I think that's what's going to happen everywhere eventually. We're just going to forget, what we could have had, when we're in our 15-minute cities, we're going to forget that we could drive an hour, somewhere else.
It's something that Amy from Two Sisters and Some Yarn says, that, if there was they have public schools and kindergartens and things, and if people taught you that your child couldn't learn to walk unless you handed them over to the state in some capacity, people would think that they couldn't do it themselves.
Yeah.
Or that you couldn't teach your child how to walk.
Whose is the train?
I think that's me.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
But anyway, sorry.
Sorry, I spoiled the conversation.
Like my parents' generation and a little bit before that was very much the question everything generation. And I think that went pretty much, seems like maybe into the 90s, the question everything, spit in the face of authority. It took a different tone through different generations, but it seems like that's lost. Like it's more of a question nothing. What are you doing? It's upsetting to people if you question.
And if you do, you'll end up like the people from January 6.
Right.
Certain amount of that.
That was definitely look what we will do to you if you dare. That was definitely what that was all about. And that was just a protest. I know I'm over here and I watched it on the TV, but I'm pretty certain that what I saw was not an insurrection. The way they were just milling around, inside, little old lady, like, ooh, look at even the man in his weird outfit was just there, dancing around, wasn't it?
And it seemed like for the areas of it that did get kind of bad and escalated, it was instigated. It wasn't the organic gathering there was kind of to go in, raise their voice. Seemed like some of them were having a little fun, being
just
a little
like the trans people were last week. Was it the trans people that did exactly the same thing somewhere? I can't remember where that was.
I think it was in Oklahoma where they did that. Yeah.
Oh, Tabitha asked a question about what do hunters in England, how do they have guns? Well, the thing about that is, one, the average person in England doesn't go hunting unless you're upper class. So, royalty, aristocracy, very rich people do, which kind of answers the question. If you're an ordinary person, you don't get the right to have that. Whereas if you're rich
y'all still have weird rules with like fox hunting and badgers and stuff that you can't kill badgers. Because I saw a couple episodes of Clarkson's Farm, the new season.
Oh yeah.
And part of that was that they had badgers, and the badgers would drink the same water as the cows, and the badgers often had tuberculosis, but you weren't allowed to kill the badgers. So your cows would get sick, and then you have to kill your cows. Just.
Well, I've got like a second cousin who has a farm, and they I don't know if you know about the when we had the BSE problem back in the late 80s and 90s, where our beef had that brain thing where the
CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease.
Yes. Well, what happened is now, this is the irony, is that now, because of that, the safest beef in the world is British beef, but people won't eat it because they're scared of what it is. Because what happens now in Britain, if there's even a sniff that one of those cows has anything wrong with them, the whole herd has to be killed. And I have a second cousin that happened, and he just said that he just broke down and cried because it was his entire life gone. His farm was wiped out. I don't know how many cows. I mean, this is someone I only know online, by the way. He's a second cousin through doing family tree stuff. I don't know him personally, so it's hard to explain it all. But it's crazy.
The amount of government regulation of farms to a micro level, and which was another part of the Clarkson's Farm show. And I know this is a thing. And it's also something that ticks me off in America too, that, the farmers, talk about farmers being subsidized. And yes, they are producing food and they are, helping the economy or something. But it's like welfare moms in a cowboy hat when it comes to subsidies, especially with ethanol and the rest of it. And that's actually going to tick people off. But honestly, people, and they were talking about this with Clarkson's Farm too, that with Brexit going through, so you don't get the money for subsidies, so we have to change our business model now, but we can't do certain things because we can't get the government regulations to go through for them. And it's like, if the government regulations were cut across the board, then you'd have more money and more availability to be freer to make a profit, to make it go without the government handing you your check every month or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, talking about farmland, I was watching a video of something about the Ohio train thing and all the other very, very coincidental chemical accidents that seem to have happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it seems to be that they're all happening in large farming areas.
Yes.
And that one of the theories, so I don't know whether this is true or not, is that this could be a way that they're going to drive people out of those areas and into cities, because they're going to be able to reclaim everybody's property and land because it'll be classed as being radioactive or something. Is that right?
Didn't I tell you this, Anne? I read it the other day. I think this is about the time I
started. I was just going to say, it was an unreliable source.
It was me. No, but it's not as coincidental as it might seem, I guess, is the point of it,
Again, flipping Judge Dredd. Man.
Well, Neil, can I ask you a question?
Sure. I might not know the answer, but
well, just with your history, when we were talking about guns and how it was just kind of filtered out of the British way of life or the UK way of life, and you talk about having to be like a wealthy landowner to hunt on it, or I don't know if you have to be a landowner, but just wealthy to kind of be able to go and hunt. That's kind of what's happened here is they've started to gear people more to, well, you don't really need a firearm unless you're hunting. Is that how it started there? Well, we only need this for hunting. Otherwise it's for killing people. And then from there, I could see it filtering. Well, you don't really need to be hunting unless it's you have a large swath of land. And then as these accidents happen, it gets more difficult to own land, especially big portions of it. So do you see similarities maybe, or?
I think it was a little bit different here because we definitely had prior, say, to the war, World War II, before then, it was very upper class, lower class, as it was seen. You know, you were either had the servants or you were a servant. Mm-hmm. So the upper class would have had the guns. They would have done the hunting for fun. But then the lower classes would have done the hunting for survival. But you wouldn't have had many people in the cities doing that, you know, like anywhere, you know, because there isn't the livestock. But after the war, when, you know, pretty much every adult man had a firearm, you know, from the war days, there's just been a whole series of different laws that have been passed every so many years, restricting it and restricting it and restricting it even further. And one of the things was after the war, there were lots of people that kept the guns. So you heard stories of people's grandfathers, oh yeah, he's, you know, war gun is in the attic. But then people were getting arrested for keeping those guns, you know, instead of handing them in. So bit by bit, we've just got used to not having them because we've never had the gun culture that America has had. I don't think ever. Really, I don't think we ever had that. So it was easier, I think, for us to lose our gun control. But I did hear the other day that in Switzerland, every adult has to have a gun. Oh, I've done that. Have I done that allegedly thing again? That's my.
I believe I always say that as well. Yeah. And I think everybody in Israel has a firearm because they all serve in the military and have to be ready to serve. So,
yeah. Well, it's with the, you know, in America, the whole David Hogg thing, you know, saying that, oh, well, who should have a gun? Nobody should have a gun. This is terrible. America has the worst gun crime ever. It's like, yeah, Sweden, who has all the bombings. It's like England, all the knifings. Like this, it's an issue.
Oh, I'm just going to go a little bit off tack because I know in your show the other day, I say yesterday because I watched it yesterday, you were talking about. Oh, was it?
It was yesterday.
You were talking about the girls, was it in Kent that have been arrested for protesting because of the rapes?
I think.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down. Dover, Astor College.
Yeah. So they've been harassed and raped, I think, by the Afghan migrants, are they? Or they're somewhere from a Muslim country. And I just wanted to sort of tip that with another story that's happening from West Yorkshire, where a boy was disrespectful to a Quran, so the book, and basically the police were involved and took more care over the pages in that Quran, taking photographs where it had been marked, by the mud.
So like he wasn't even like take a pen and write in it. It was like a scuff mark. Yeah.
And basically saying, and it's like, well, I bet they don't even do that kind of forensic testing of the raped girls, because it's like, what the hell? When does a book become more valuable than a person's life? And you could guarantee that if I...
And then the mother came out, talked with them with her head covered in the scarf, and then she was praised for not pressing charges to the people who harassed her son about this whole thing. Sorry.
All the community leaders, as they always say, the community leaders all had a big meeting. Well, they don't have a meeting about all the girls that are being raped by it's crazy. But if I held up a Bible and held up a Quran, which I could do, they're on the shelf. I won't do it, don't worry, because it'll get you in trouble. But if I threw them both on the floor, only one of them will be classed as being, wrong in any way. And that's wrong. It's wrong. Either they're both, it's wrong to do either, or it's okay to do either. Mm-hmm. My argument is if I own the book, I can do whatever I like with it.
Yep.
Sorry, we've gone right off the subject there, haven't we?
Well, back to ye old censorship.
Yeah. Yeah, if only they protected Roald Dahl books and 007 books like they do the Quran.
No kidding.
You know. Yeah, if you guys haven't read 1984, they're trying to ban that again. So I guess go and find it.
Well, can you imagine
because
how
you'll
they're going to
be totally
change
creeped.
that? Can you imagine
Oh
the
my God.
irony
Well,
of
but here's
changing
the
it?
thing, and I haven't heard much about it, but they were like, yeah, we're going to do a movie about 1984 called Julia. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly how you're going to do it. It's
That'll
gonna
be great.
all feminist, whatever. And you're going to, yeah,
Yeah, and it'll be Winston raped her or looked at her the wrong way, won't it? That's how the story will go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he tried to stop her having her abortion. That's what it'll be.
Or something.
Oh, have you seen? I tried to share it tonight on Instagram, but I think the file's too big. It wouldn't let me do it. The South Park clip of Mr. now Mrs. Garrison going to the surgery to have an abortion.
Yeah.
It is brilliant. It is exactly what is happening at the moment.
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter clip.
Yep. No, it's all the stuff that was satire and you know, out of this world craziness is like all coming to be, and it's just
It's just bizarre. So bizarre.
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't want to think, what will they come up with next? Because then if you go somewhere really weird and think, no, never, it'll be in the news the next week.
yeah. Well, it truly will.
Well, to find out what's going to come next, you need to follow Titania McGrath.
Oh,
Because
yes.
Titania usually predicts everything. You know
That's a
who,
hilarious
you know Titania,
account.
don't you, DK?
Maybe.
It's a parody, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a parody, like super
Yeah.
woke account. It's
It's
so ridiculous.
Thingy Doyle off GB News. I've forgotten his first. Is it Andrew Doyle? Yeah.
Oh yeah. You've mentioned this before, yeah.
Have I? Oh, repeating myself.
I think so. No, speaking of, and I'm going to get his name wrong, but maybe I've just been generally ticked off lately, which, you know, is fair. But Toby Young did this little simpering Twitter post about how excited he is to be on, I'm going to forget his name, but the guy who took over for Mark Stein's time slot, who, he's so butch and conservative, except he was a part of Boris Johnson's COVID committee. So he was part of locking
Rees-Mogg.
Yes.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Face like a fish. So much charisma. And then the entire post is about how he's like, oh, it was so professional. It's like he's been doing this the whole time. It's like, yeah, when I go onto someone's show and say, oh, wow, you're so professional, it's like you've been doing it the whole time. It's not because it's good. Sorry.
Well, Jacob Rees-Mogg is possibly one of the what we would call the poshest people in the land. So he's like comes from a very wealthy upper class family, and I know when he was about 12 he was on the TV and he was one of those awful kids, you know, those kids that kind of know too much, are too educated, you know, and you know the type I mean, don't you? And I think he's got 7. Oh, he'll have a gun somewhere, yeah.
I was
and
thinking
he'll go
like
hunting.
Ben Shapiro, like it's like I don't care if you're right, you need a noogie, like bad.
But I think he's got 7 children. I think one of them is called Septimus. You know, so he's gone for which I think. Oh, is it Severus? No, the one that says because those names are Latin for
the numbers, yeah.
Yeah, like Primus, Secundus, whatever. I can't remember. It just means first, second. You know, it's like you can't even give your child a name.
Literally, like they did in the Stardust movie, Buy My Shawl. It's awesome. But
oh, that was so well done, Anne. That was so well done.
I know. Just a little bit. There's, but yeah. So that guy,
I quite like him actually. I hoped he'd become the prime minister because he's a true conservative.
COVID policy.
Oh yeah, well, I think the thing with COVID is it's like everything. Like I think Liz said before, didn't you? It's everything is based on pre-COVID and post-COVID. So I liked him pre-COVID. post-COVID, I'm not sure I like any politician, to be honest, because they, even Donald Trump, I just think, you push that vaccine, that jab.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say it.
Are we allowed to say it now?
I think
hard to say.
We're in the world of, lab leak was totally a thing. And my favorite joke is still, you mean I've been avoiding bat soup for 3 years? Man.
Yeah.
So we're safe to have bat soup now. I mean, it must be delicious. Have you seen it? Have you seen how it looks when they put it on your plate?
Oh, all the time, always. I'm walking past all these street vendors who are like, bat soup, and I'm like, nah, man, not today. Worried about the vid. And
the bat is
fun.
Literally sat in the soup. He's like sat there. You know how they got the wings? He's literally sat there like that in it, dead. So it's not like it's.
Seasonings? Are there good seasonings?
Is the bat like the bay leaf of the soup?
Yeah.
Just fish that out before you start eating.
Well, we kind of started with Batman, didn't we? So now we're kind of on to Bay Leaf Man.
Adds his own little spice.
Yeah, have a look. Look up bat soup. Bat soup.
No, I'm good, thank you. Just because I can doesn't mean I need to.
I'm looking at bat soup near me.
Ew.
Oh, near you. What if you find out there's one on your street? A bat soup shop.
Well, I live in a pretty big area. There's a lot of city here, especially going eastward towards Dallas. Maybe they might have somebody. I don't think they could use a real bat, but they could use the recipe, the seasonings.
You could pin some bay leaves together, couldn't you? I think we should try and find a picture and put it on the screen.
Mock bat soup.
Like, no. But we are coming up to 2 hours. So.
Oh, wow.
That was fast.
They always go so fast, don't they?
I know. Yeah, but that is what it is. So is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about that we just didn't get an opportunity to, because we've gone off on several tangents today? Which is fine. I enjoy them all, but
Oh, how was your journey back, by the way, DK?
We got rear-ended.
3-day journey.
Two. It's only 2 days. So when we're a 15-minute city, I guess we won't be allowed to go to Florida anymore. But no, in the first hour of our trip, we got rear-ended. So that was super great. Luckily, it didn't cause damage, and we were able to keep going. But that pretty much set the tone for the 2 days driving back. So just imagine. And then, we had a great time. My kids were great. It was super fun. But by the time we're on our way home, all they did the second day was bicker. And then I'm yelling at them, and my husband's like, calm down. I'm telling one of them, stop talking. I don't want to hear your voice for the next half hour. You told me to shut up. Nope. I just asked you to not talk. There's a big difference.
Yeah, shut up or else you won't get your sex change when you're 12.
Oh, gosh. Whoa.
That would have been a different conversation. I did not have that one. No, but yeah, that second half of the show today, I all of a sudden it hit me that I haven't been sleeping, and I just that's okay. We'll get back into our groove. But no,
well, I was going to moan because I'm tired from lifting boxes and emptying boxes and moving boxes, but I think you beat me on that. 2 days of traveling is a killer.
You even lift, bro. All these boxes.
I think moving is worse, honest to God. I despise moving.
Sucks.
I suppose, but I think that doing nothing, sort of being a trapped, passenger in a car, is actually brain killing. It's like
it's awful.
Yeah. At least if you're moving stuff physically, you can still, you're still free. You can still go and walk somewhere. Well, I was saying to you, wasn't it, on Instagram, we were chatting about this, and I was saying when I was a kid, we used to drive, this will mean nothing to you, but we used to drive from Manchester to Portsmouth every year because that's where my dad's family lived. And it was a 5-hour journey in the car, and that was hell. So when you say 2 days, I just can't imagine.
Yeah, it's 24 hours if everything goes well. Our drive home was 26 or 27. because of traffic and stops, and I'm tired.
Do
And
you
then we went
drive
to
as
the zoo
well,
today.
or does your husband do all the driving?
So he had me drive after lunch one of the days, and I gotta tell you, because we'd been trapped in the car, I was like struggling. I'm like, dude, I can't drive. I'm gonna like fall asleep. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just can't do it. So I did drive, but I had to do it in the morning. I'm like, I'm a morning person. I am not like, once lunch hits, I'm done. Like, I'm gonna take a nap. So but he's kind of a control freak anyway. Like, he gets all stressed out, and then like if I'm not braking or keeping the distance, he wants me. It's just too stressful. He drives. It's good.
We call that a backseat driver.
Well, yeah, so do we. But
right.
I was literally in the back seat, and him and his dad were in the front, and I was telling him what to do. He was not pleased.
Oh, so there was you and your whole brood of
other.
children, and your father-in-law, and wow, that's a lot of people.
Yep, it's super fun. No, we have a great time, but now we need a vacation from our vacation because of all the driving.
I imagine.
That's okay. We're good.
That's the thing I can't imagine about the US, because you are literally so far away from everything.
Yeah.
You know, little England would fit in every state about 10 times, wouldn't it? Well, not necessarily every state, but
times.
Yeah.
I'd say England's about roughly the size of South Dakota, roughly the size of New York. I mean,
right. I looked it up because I told my husband what you said about the 5-hour thing.
Oh, did he just laugh?
And well, like 5 hours could sometimes be a day trip for us. I mean, when Anne was nearby, I drove like 3 hours to go pick you up.
In my defense, though, I have to say that those 5 hours will be intense driving, as in traffic, whereas I bet you had plenty of open road for a lot of the journey.
But we went 1,200 miles, 1,300 miles, something like that. So I don't know what that is in kilometers. I can't tell you.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 12 hours to go see my son and his wife and that side of the family, and then it's 21 plus hours to go see my family in California the opposite way. So
yeah.
So how often do you see them? You can't see them often then.
We don't see them a whole lot, and we just moved here, so we haven't made the trip back to Alabama yet. But that doesn't the drive times don't bother me. I've always loved cross-country trips. I like road trips. I'm totally good with it. I like driving during that time too. I just love it. I love seeing this country. It's beautiful. The thing is I have gone through phases in my life where I love animals and I've collected them, and we have 2 guinea pigs, 2 dogs, and a cat. And you cannot go anywhere with these animals unless you pay to board them all or have somebody come up. We don't know enough people to come sit for us. So it's logistically, it's a problem right now. And we're definitely at a point in our lives where we're seeing things like when these animals cross the Rainbow Bridge, there won't be any replacements, just so we can go see our loved ones and
pay for my flights, and I will come and stay in your house, and I will look after your guinea pigs.
But who will take care of the ugly cats?
Oh God, yeah, forget about that. Someone will have to come here. Who's going to come here? We're all going to have to swap houses, aren't we?
Take your teacup and move one over.
It's a chain of custody with these animals.
Oh. I feel guilty now for forgetting about my 3.
Morgan's saying with her dad pets it for reptiles, cats, and tarantulas.
Oh God, yeah, Morgan's got millions of spiders, hasn't she?
I'd have a problem with that.
You have a problem with what?
With pet sitting for tarantulas.
Why?
Well, apparently, no, they are quite cute. They are quite cute. I have held a tarantula, just like that. That's it. And they are quite cute in a really terrifying, kind of way.
Distance. They're really cute from a distance.
Well, I read today, I saw an Instagram post today about there's a kind of spider that has pet frogs. And the frogs look after, kill all the insects that would kill the spider's eggs. And in return, the spider protects the frogs. And I thought, that's really sweet.
Hey, little buddy.
That's interesting.
That sounds like the 4 levels of hell to me. Me and frogs, if you want to see me walk on water, watch me in a pool where there's a frog. I will levitate. I will run across the water. I
So
can't stand those
Style with
things.
your arms out behind you.
I have
It's not the tarantulas. It's the
illogical
frogs.
fear of frogs. Like,
Huh.
I don't know where it comes from. I blame my mother, but frogs and me.
You need to watch. Is it the Mel Gibson film? Is it called Apocalypta? Is it Apocalypta? About the Incas or the Aztecs, one or the other?
A frog scene?
Yeah, and all it is though, but I don't know. This kind of made me think differently about frogs. The sort of savage bad guys. They rub their arrowheads on the backs of the frog because that's where the venom was.
Mm.
So it kind of makes you not want to touch a frog. Not that I've ever wanted to touch a frog, but
Have you never?
Frogs are evil.
I've never touched a frog. Yeah, never.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I've never seen one in real life.
For real?
What?
What kind of strange land do you live in?
I live in a city. You don't get frogs crossing the road.
You need to find a bog. Where's
As
a
my
bog?
father would always
There aren't any bogs in Salford.
that
Well, not those kind of
frogs-
bogs. Adam will
that
know what kind of
frogs
bogs
are
we've got.
that's healthy because they can't take a lot of chemicals. So seeing frogs is a good thing. But yeah, we'd see frogs and toads and.
Well, my local river is
Sorry, Liz.
orange, so I don't think there's going to be many healthy frogs in that river. So,
Yeah.
Why? I mean, we gotta go, but why is it orange?
just because of the pollution in it.
Holy shit!
Yeah, the UK is one big city. I know on the TV you see all these lovely fields and things, but that's not what it's like.
Y'all throwing your batteries in the river? Or cadmium?
It's where all the old guns went, and they're just rusting in
Oh.
there, turning it orange.
Tragic boating accident.
It must be why I don't like the colour of orange. GG orange. We've kind of gone on a full circle.
We certainly have, and now I am gonna go make some beef and broccoli, and I hope you
Ooh.
guys have something
Sounds good.
delicious for supper. And
On to your house.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'll see you in a couple days.
It'll be cold by then.
Exactly. Yeah. So check out Liz's Instagram, Neil's magazine. There.
Yeah, check out the YouTube on Friday because Tabitha's going to be on. We're going to be talking about murder.
I'll be there.
That sounds fun.
Anything
And,
for you to promote, Liz?
Shoot, myself? No, I'm kidding. No, I have nothing. Prayer. Promote prayer in my life. Thank you.
Pray that you find your dye notebook.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
that'd be
What's
fun.
the saint of lost things? Say some prayers to him. The patron
Don't know who
saint
it
of
is,
lost
but yeah.
things. I don't know who it is. I'm not Catholic.
Me neither.
Oh, is that just a Catholic thing, patron saints?
Yeah.
I'm an
Maybe an
ex-Catholic, so I
Orthodox
just assumed everybody had patron saints.
No.
I don't know.
Oh.
No.
So it's a bit like paganism, really, then, isn't it? Did we just take patron saints instead of having millions of gods? Is that what we did?
Maybe.
That
I
is
don't really
a
know.
scandalous comment, Neil.
Oh, here.
We'll definitely not talk about that in the private
Anthony.
chat after.
Saint
Pray for
Anthony.
your- Yeah.
I don't know if you watched me when I was on Kerry's show. So for us, it's Saint Anthony. Anthony.
Yeah, to us, the Anthony would be pronounced.
Yeah. Oh, good gracious. All right, guys. Make sure you keep your notifications on for me and Ann because we have totally just thrown our schedule out the window. We have
Right.
no idea what we're doing.
And also, okay, not to be weird and beggy, but our subscriber count keeps going up to a point and then going down and up to a point and going down and up to a point and going down. It's only like by 5 people. So if you 10 people could subscribe to us and get us over that, I feel like we would cross
Like
it.
we would keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's, you know what, Ann? It's
on.
it's because you're with me. Because that's what my Instagram does. It goes up to a certain number, and then Instagram's like, "Oh, wait a second," and then it gets dropped.
Do you know what I think it is? If it's
And
only
to be
about
fair,
5,
it's just, but still.
I think it'll be the hate watchers. I think that's what it will be. The same 5 hate watchers coming back every now and again, and then thinking, "Oh no, I don't like them."
Yeah,
And
but
then
that's our subscribers. They wouldn't subscribe. You can watch
think
us
they
without
wouldn't.
being
I mean, maybe they're like, this will really discourage them.
Oh, I have hate watchers that come and pay Patreon money. I've had
Cool.
one this
Hey,
week.
guys, I have a Patreon. If you are hate
Yes.
watching and you want a yarn, come join my Patreon. I have a
And
cool
come
yarn
join mine as
subscription
well.
level.
Don't join DK's, join mine.
Hey, no. I have a level that gives you yarn, and you're gonna get exclusive color from Tina for this next month. So what about that?
Nice.
So
that
hate
beats
watchers
mine.
and
All you get on
welcome.
mine is an early preview of the magazine. That's all you get on mine. I can't.
Yeah, Morgan
yours,
says
DK.
join both.
Yes, that's
join
a good
both.
idea.
So,
Maybe we should do some kind of an offer if you join all of it. You know, everyone who's got a Patreon in our thing. Maybe we should do something. I don't know whether you can.
I don't know. We can talk about it.
Yeah,
next
I don't
week.
know if it's possible. Yeah.
All right,
Along with all the other things we need to talk about.
I know, right? All right. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Thanks, Liz, Neil, and
Thank
you.
bye, guys.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.